A cop pulls over a black woman in a quiet parking lot. He steps out, eyes cold, smirk on his face. He thinks this is just another routine stop, just another person he can intimidate. But then he opens his mouth and makes the biggest mistake of his career. With a sneer, he throws out an insult dripping with arrogance. He thinks he is in control. 5 minutes later, his hands are shaking. His face is pale. What happens next? It ruins him. Before we continue, tell us where you're watching from. Stay till the end. You won't believe how this one ends. The woman does not flinch. She does not react. She simply watches the officer with calm, piercing eyes. But the cop, he sees none of that. He only sees what he wants to see. You people, he mutters under his breath, shaking his head, always acting like you're above the law. He circles her car like a predator, eyes flicking between her and the sleek vehicle she just stepped out of. This does not look like something you should be driving, he says with a smirk. What, did your boyfriend buy it for you? Silence. The woman tilts her head slightly, studying him. There is no fear in her face, no anger, just something unreadable, something the officer does not like. His smirk falters, but he quickly recovers. License and registration, now, he snaps. Still, she does not move. The officer scoffs. Oh, I get it. You are one of those difficult ones, huh? Think you do not have to follow orders? His hand tightens on his belt. The parking lot is empty. No witnesses. He thinks this is his moment, his chance to remind this woman who is in charge. But what happens next? It is not what he expects. Before we go any further, tell me, what would you do in this situation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Stay with me, because what happens next will change everything. The officer taps his fingers against his belt, waiting. The woman still has not moved. She just stands there watching him. It is unsettling. He is used to people scrambling to obey, making excuses, rushing to prove their innocence. But not her. She is too calm, too controlled, and that irritates him. You do not want to make this difficult, ma'am, he says, shaking his head. Trust me, I have seen this before. A woman like you, driving a car like this, always a story behind it, nothing. She does not react. The officer lets out a low chuckle. All right, I get it. You are one of those difficult ones. His tone hardens. License and registration, now. Still, she does not move. His patience is wearing thin. He steps closer, his stance tightening. Are you refusing to comply with an officer's orders? His voice is sharper now. The woman finally speaks. Her voice is smooth, steady. Why do you assume this car does not belong to me? The officer scoffs. Oh, come on. Do not play that game with me. You think I pulled you over for no reason? You fit a description. He leans in slightly, lowering his voice. And trust me, I know when something feels off. She tilts her head, studying him. Feels off. That is right, he nods. I trust my gut. And right now my gut tells me you do not belong in a car like this. She exhales softly. For a moment he thinks she might finally comply, but instead she folds her arms. Your gut feeling sounds a lot like a bias. His smirk fades. Watch your tone, ma'am, he warns. I am giving you a chance to cooperate. But if you want to be difficult, I will escalate this situation. She still does not move, still does not flinch. His jaw tightens. He presses his radio. Unit 12, I have a suspect refusing to cooperate. Possible stolen vehicle situation. Requesting backup. A flicker of something crosses the woman's face. A knowing look, as if she already knows how this will end. The officer straightens. Let us try this one more time. License and registration. Last chance. The woman finally moves. Slowly, deliberately. Her hand reaches into the inside pocket of her coat. The officer's muscles tense. His fingers twitch near his holster. Slowly, he barks. Keep your hands where I can see them. She does not hesitate. A moment later, she pulls out a sleek, black leather badge holder, flicks it open. Silence. For the first time, the officer freezes. His throat goes dry. His breath catches. His mind stumbles, trying to process what he is looking at. The badge, the title. His entire body stiffens. A second patrol car pulls up. Backup has arrived. His partner steps out, approaching the scene with caution. But the moment she lays eyes on the badge in the woman's hand, her expression changes instantly. She recognizes her, and the officer sees the realization sink in. His stomach churns. His hands tremble slightly. She knows who he is, and she knows what he just did. His partner takes a slow step forward. "Sir," her voice is hesitant, careful. She glances at the woman, then back at him. "Is there a problem here?" The woman does not take her eyes off him. "I do not know," she says, her voice calm, almost thoughtful. "That depends on Officer Dawson here." His heart pounds. She knows his name. She has not asked for it. She has not needed to. She already knows exactly who he is. "You called for backup because you believed I was a suspect," she says slowly. "You were sure this car was stolen. You assumed without reason that I was committing a crime. Tell me, Officer Dawson, do you treat everyone this way?" He swallows hard. I I was just following procedure, ma'am. Procedure?" she repeats. "Tell me, what part of your procedure involves calling backup before even asking for ID?" He has no answer. The woman tilts her head, studying him. Then she says the words that seal his fate. "I will be making a call to your precinct first thing in the morning." His stomach drops. A single call. That is all it will take. His record will be pulled. His history will be reviewed. Every complaint, every incident swept under the rug will come to light. And he knows without a doubt that his career is over. The parking lot feels smaller. The air feels heavier. And for the first time in his career, Officer Dawson realizes he is the one who is truly powerless. Before we move forward, what do you think should happen next? Should he be fired on the spot? Suspended? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And stay with me, because this is only the beginning. The silence is suffocating. The officer's face turns pale, his hands trembling slightly at his sides. He has lost control of the situation, and he knows it. Everything he thought he understood about this moment has flipped on its head. His partner stands stiffly beside him, glancing between him and the woman, her face twisted in disbelief. She recognized the badge instantly. She knows exactly what is happening, and more importantly, she knows there is no way to undo it. The woman watches him with the same unreadable expression she has had since the start. No anger, no raised voice, just a quiet authority that speaks louder than any badge or gun ever could. She is in charge now, and there is nothing Dawson can do about it. "I am going to ask you again, Officer Dawson," she says, her tone calm but cutting. "Do you treat everyone this way?" Dawson swallows hard. His throat feels dry, his confidence slipping away with every passing second. "Ma'am, I was just following standard protocol." "Standard protocol?" she interrupts, tilting her head slightly. "Is it standard protocol to assume a black woman driving a nice car is a criminal? To call for backup before even asking for identification? To escalate a situation before gathering any facts?" His mouth opens, but nothing comes out. He has no defense because deep down, he knows the truth. He knows exactly why he made this stop. He saw a black woman in a luxury car and assumed she was in the wrong. He didn't think twice about it. The weight of the moment is pressing down on him. He feels exposed, vulnerable. The power he thought he had is slipping through his fingers, and there is nothing he can do to stop it. His partner shifts beside him, uneasy. She is no longer standing by his side. She knows where this is going. The woman finally turns to his partner. "I assume you know who I am." The partner nods quickly, her voice shaky. "Yes, ma'am." "Then you understand why this is a problem." The partner swallows, nodding again. "Yes, ma'am." Dawson feels the sweat on his neck. He looks from the woman to his partner and back again. He has never felt so small, so out of control. "Look," he says, desperation creeping into his voice. "This is just a misunderstanding. Maybe we—" "There is no misunderstanding." The woman cuts him off, her voice razor sharp. "You made an assumption about me. You did not ask for my ID. You did not assess the situation. You went straight to profiling. And now you want to backpedal because you realize you picked the wrong person to mess with." Dawson's heart pounds in his chest. He looks around, but there is no way out of this. His partner stays quiet, her expression unreadable, but the tension in her posture says everything. She has worked with him for years. She has seen how he operates, And now she is realizing something she never wanted to admit. Then the woman's expression changes slightly. But here is the thing, Officer Dawson. I am not just here for myself. His stomach twists. He already knows where this is going. This is not the first time you have done this, is it? She asks, her voice quiet but firm. How many times have you stopped someone who looked like me and assumed the worst? How many times have you let your so-called gut feeling decide someone's fate? Dawson feels like the ground is slipping out from under him. He starts, but she is not finished. People like you get away with this all the time, she continues. Because most people you do this to, they do not have the power to fight back. They do not have the connections. They do not have the influence. But I do. Dawson feels like he cannot breathe. His entire body is rigid, his mind racing for a way out. But there is none. I could have been anyone tonight, she says, her voice almost eerily calm. A young black man on his way home, a mother picking up her child, a college student just trying to get through their day. And you would have done the same thing, wouldn't you? Because no one usually stops you. His partner shifts slightly beside him, but she does not say a word. The silence says enough. The woman takes a slow breath. Then she pulls out her phone. Dawson stiffens. Wait, he says, panic in his voice. What are you doing? She glances up at him. I am making that call. His stomach plummets. One phone call. That is all it will take. One phone call and every complaint against him, every questionable stop, every report that was buried or ignored, it will all come out. His career, his reputation, his entire future. Gone. He has seen it happen before, to officers who got caught in the wrong situation with the wrong person. But it never occurred to him that one day, it would be him. His partner swallows hard. Ma'am, please, she says carefully. Maybe we can handle this differently. The woman looks at her, studying her for a long moment. Differently? The partner hesitates, then nods. Officer Dawson was wrong. We both know that. But maybe there is another way to make this right. The woman does not answer right away. Dawson feels a flicker of hope, but it is weak, because deep down, he knows he does not deserve a way out. Finally, the woman speaks. Do you think I am the only one who knows what happened here? Dawson's heart stops. The woman lifts her phone slightly. You were too busy playing power games to notice, but someone was recording this entire time. The blood drains from Dawson's face. It is already online, she says simply, and people are watching. A wave of nausea washes over him. His mind races. If it is already on social media, then it is too late. People have seen. People know. And now it is out of his hands. The woman finally lowers her phone. I suggest you think long and hard about the choices you have made, because whether I make a call or not, she glances toward the distance. The damage is already done. Dawson follows her gaze. In the distance, a crowd is forming. People with their phones out, recording, whispering. His worst nightmare has already begun. Before we move forward, what do you think should happen next? Should he be fired? Suspended? Should his partner also be held accountable? Drop your thoughts in the comments and stay with me, because this is far from over. The crowd keeps growing. The whispers get louder. Phones are out, recording everything. Officer Dawson can feel the weight of every stare, every camera lens, every person watching his world unravel. His partner stands frozen beside him, her face unreadable, but he can tell she is realizing something. This is bigger than a routine stop. This is bigger than a mistake. This is something neither of them can walk away from. The woman lowers her phone and looks straight at him. It is a strange feeling, is it not? Her voice is calm, steady, and controlled. Being on the other side, Dawson swallows hard, but his throat feels dry. He knows exactly what she means. For years, he has been in control. He has been the one people feared. He was the one who decided how things went. But now, with an audience watching and recording, he is the one with no power. I know who you are, Dawson, she continues. I know your record. I know this is not the first time you have done this. His stomach tightens. His heart pounds so loudly in his chest he can barely hear anything else. There have been complaints, have there not? She asks, tilting her head. People you have stopped, people you have threatened, people who were too afraid to fight back. Dawson's mind races. Reports, internal reviews, a few warnings here and there. Nothing that ever stuck. Nothing that ever really mattered. But this is different. This time, she says, her voice sharp, you picked the wrong person. The words feel like a hammer to his chest. For the first time, fear settles deep inside him. This is not about a temporary suspension. This is not about another report that will disappear into a file somewhere. This is about losing everything. His job, his reputation, his future. The woman turns her attention to his partner. And you, she says, shifting her gaze, how many times have you seen him do this? How many times have you stood by and said nothing? Dawson watches as his partner stiffens. She does not speak. She does not look at him. She does not even try to defend herself. Silence is complicity, the woman says. Every time you let something slide, you allowed it to continue. Dawson feels the walls closing in. His hands tremble at his sides. His partner is not standing with him anymore. She is standing against him, even if she will not admit it out loud. Then the woman exhales slowly. You think I should be the one to make the call? She asks. That I should be the one to decide what happens next? Dawson stays silent. You are wrong. His heart drops. She lifts her chin slightly and glances toward the crowd. They will decide. Dawson follows her gaze. The realization slams into him like a truck. It is already happening. The people watching, the people recording, the people sharing this story online. He does not need an internal investigation. He does not need a disciplinary hearing. Public opinion will destroy him before any paperwork ever does. This video will spread. People will share it. News outlets will pick it up. His name, his face, his badge number, everything will be everywhere. No cover-ups, no buried reports, no second chances, just consequences. He feels sick. His knees feel weak. The woman has not even touched him. She has not raised her voice. She has not done anything but stand in front of him and tell the truth. And yet somehow she has ruined him. He thought he was the one in power. But power belongs to the people. And now the people are watching. The weight of what just happened settles over everyone. The air is thick with tension, but there is no shouting, no arguing, just the undeniable truth hanging in the silence. The people watching, the cameras still recording, the murmurs growing louder. Dawson knows this is not something he can walk away from. His partner finally looks at him, but there is no defense in her eyes, no excuse. She knows this is beyond repair. Whatever they thought they could cover up, whatever they believed would get brushed under the rug, it is too late now. The woman watches them both carefully. There is no gloating, no satisfaction on her face, just certainty. She has seen this play out before, too many times. The only difference is, this time, the right people are watching. You thought no one would ever hold you accountable, she says, her voice calm but firm. You thought you could get away with it, because you always have. Dawson cannot even argue. What would he say? That she is wrong? That he did not mean for this to happen? The truth is, he never thought about it, never questioned it, never imagined that one day he would be the one facing consequences. His partner clears her throat, shifting uncomfortably. Look, She stops herself, shaking her head. There is nothing she can say that will make this go away. The woman tilts her head slightly. You are not innocent either, she says, her gaze locked on the partner now. How many times have you let something slide? How many times did you look the other way because it was easier? The partner exhales sharply, but she does not deny it, because she knows it is true. Dawson feels like he is standing in the middle of a storm. Everything he built, everything he relied on, it is all crumbling around him. And the worst part? No one is coming to save him. Not his department, not his badge, not even his partner. I am not going to stand here and tell you that this is about just one incident, the woman continues, because it is not. She looks toward the crowd, nodding slightly. It is about them. It is about every person who has been stopped, questioned, and treated like a suspect for no reason. It is about every voice that was ignored because people like you thought no one would listen. The murmurs in the crowd grow louder. The weight of what she is saying is not just falling on Dawson and his partner, it is settling into the minds of everyone watching. Dawson's heart pounds. He wants to say something, anything. But what is there to say? That he did not mean for it to go this far? That he was just doing his job? None of that would matter. The woman sighs and finally shakes her head. I do not need to do anything to you, Officer Dawson. The damage is already done. And she is right. The video is out there. People are already sharing it. The truth is spreading faster than any report ever could. There will be no hiding from this, no second chances. For the first time in his career, he is the one with no power. Dawson lowers his head slightly. He can hear his own breathing, shaky and uneven. His partner shifts beside him, but she does not move closer. She knows this is his burden to carry now. The woman takes one last look at them before turning toward the crowd. The moment she walks away, the people step aside, giving her space. There is no need for any final words. Everything has already been said, and just like that, it is over. Or at least, it is over for her. For Dawson, this is just the beginning of what comes next. The story does not end here. Officer Dawson thought he could operate without consequences, that his badge, his uniform, his years on the force would always protect him. But the truth caught up with him, not because of an internal report, not because of a department review, but because people saw what really happened. And once the truth is out there, there is no stopping it. The power he once held, gone. The control he thought he had, shattered. And now he has to live with the fact that his name, his actions, his choices, they will never be forgotten. And his partner? She may not have said the words, but she stood there and let it happen. And when you stay silent in the face of injustice, you are part of the problem. But now it is time for you to decide. Should Officer Dawson lose his badge permanently? Should his partner also be held accountable for standing by and doing nothing? Should more officers be investigated for actions like these? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This is not just a story, this is a conversation, and your voice matters. If this moment made you think, made you feel something, made you realize how quickly things can change, hit that like button and share this video. Because the more people see this, the more we remind the world. No one is above accountability. Stay tuned for more stories like this, because the truth deserves to be told.